So, as if we haven't seen things being cut already by this administration is now cutting the homeless funds. So, it all seems to happen here in California and LA County, LA City. So we are hit the hardest with these cuts. I do believe that other cities and other places outside of California are feeling the impacts of cuts, but most definitely California is. So Trump officials, they cut federal funds to LA Homeless Service agencies. And so Housing and Urban Development Department alleges fraud. This is their reason for cutting, is what their claim is, allegedly. So in the administration's latest clash with California, so we have a large population of homeless encampments, and it is growing. And with this happening, it's going to grow even more. So the Trump administration has suspended federal funding to LA beleaguered homelessness agency. So the announcement is the administration's latest move of rescinding funding to California, where Donald Trump has feuded with the state's Democratic leaders. So in a letter to the LA Homeless Service Authority, the largest continuum of care homeless services agency in the nation, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, immediately suspended the funds to the agency pending an investigation citing allegations of fraud. So HUD will fund results, not corrupt failure or the homeless industrial complex. Secretary Scott Turner said in a statement, so taxpayers will no longer bankroll an organization that puts its own self-interest ahead of Americans it was created to serve. The authority said in an email statement to The Guardian, after initial review, this appears to be a blatant attempt to pull yet resources from Los Angeles City. They have targeted time again, when it is clear that the LA's homeless services has either corrected or is in the process of correcting nearly all of the issues that have been raised. According to HUD, LA's homeless services has received nearly $1 billion in taxpayer dollars, that is over the last 5 years. So about 8% of the homeless budget currently comes from federal funding. So LA has long recorded one of the largest homeless populations in the country. In 2025, LA's homeless organizations estimated 72,308 people in the city were homeless, a decrease from 2023's 75,518 people. Los Angeles lawmakers have called for changes to the LA's Housing Service Authority in recent years, even when they have supported the agency's mission. So in February, LA County pulled $300 million from the agency and redirected those funds to start an LA County Department of Homeless Service and Housing. But the LA County Supervisor, Lindsay Horvath, who has been involved in the decision to redirect the homeless funding to the county, said that Trump administration's choice to suspend funding for homeless organizations is for publicity, not for results. In a statement, she added, I have been calling for change and accountability to our organization, but if the administration desires accountability too, they should work with LA County. So in its letter, HUD alleged that the LA Homeless Service Authority had violated federal conflict of interest rules, misused government funds by paying for empty hotels, and failed to provide documentation verifying housing sites it oversaw. So, LA Homeless Service Authority said in a statement local oversight actions have already resulted in strong repair and reform to LA Housing Service Authority internal controls, which are accountable and viewable to the public. So, in HUD's Inspector General actually conducts a fair review of the LA's Homeless Service Authority organization, current and future practices. They will clearly see how our system now allows us to clearly track the work and investment that have resulted in LA outperforming the nation by reducing homelessness over the last 2 years. So homelessness was a key issue in the city's mayoral primary, where voters sent an incumbent mayor, Karen Bass, and progressive city councilor Nithya Raman to a runoff election after Raman edged out Trump's preferred candidate, the Republican reality TV star Spencer Pratt. The close race was decided this week, so the mayor's office said in a statement, Mayor Bass, too, has grave concern about LA's Housing Service Authority and the zero tolerance for mismanagement and negligence, which is why she previously directed the city to evaluate how to move away from the agency. So threatening federal funds does nothing to house people, and it jeopardized the progress, Mayor Bass has said. And it's led that also the progress has led to reduce homelessness for 2 years in a row after it only went up in LA for years. Ultimately, people will lose their lives. We urge HUD to work with the city of LA to provide the necessary funding to reduce homelessness. So Raman said in a statement, this action by federal government is exactly what I have been concerned about and why I've been pushed for years for the city to build a capacity needed to manage our own contracts, programs, and dollars. She said the federal government action directly impacts the housing stability of Angelenos who are housed right now from this federal funding and jeopardizes future housing efforts. And so the city and county that is, must together meaningfully engage with HUD to ensure we are able to continue serving the most vulnerable Angelenos. So the Trump administration has cut funding to California across a variety of programs in the past year, including a high-speed rail project, sex education programs, and public universities, citing their handling of student protests against the war in Gaza. So that's pretty much the article. Yes, there has been a lot of programs that have been cut recently. So the reason why I was reading this article is because there was a woman that was pretty much putting up a graph of a school and how their funding was running out and that the administration has not funded it. And a lot of the schools that have any wording that is related to DEI practices, diversity, equity, inclusion, language, they cut or pull the funding. So any programs that say they're for the most vulnerable populations of people with color, people from Central America, people that are in poverty, that are of African anything diaspora, they cut the funding for those programs. So, or they pull the money or hold it or suspend it, claiming they're investigating how the money is being used. And so they also coin it, when you term the words for people of color or for people in vulnerable populations, it's like racism. So they have been pulling funding from programs when honestly it isn't racism. it is vulnerable populations out there. It is people of color. It is people that are in situations of poverty that need these programs. And by them cutting these programs, a lot of more people are going to die. A lot of more people are going to be unhoused. A lot of more people are going to be vulnerable, even more so. And so it's getting worse. And California seems to be taking a lot of cuts. The gas is really high here. The cost of living has really gotten hard. A lot of people are getting arrested at the airport if they don't have proper documentation, or even if they forgot or they don't know if they have. You could get arrested at LAX. It is going down out here in California, I'm telling you, and there are cuts like no other. A lot of these schools, USD, they took a hit. They got a lot of cuts. They also had a drop in enrollment this year. Again, even though school has just started back this past week. There's a lot going on, and it just seems like there's no end to it. But stay tuned. It just seems to get worse, and I believe homelessness, all the efforts they made within 2 years, it's gonna seem like they never did anything to put a dent into stopping homelessness, or at least trying to mitigate it some kind of way. It's gonna get worse. It's growing, and I'm seeing videos surfacing. If you've really been paying attention, people living out of storage units. I kid you not. Makeshift housing. They're living out of RVs on the streets, cars in the back of a van. People are trying to make other ways possible to live. If they're functionally homeless, they're living out of a hotel. And I'm hearing extended stays in Texas are making a lot of money off of the unhoused. I was watching videos of people saying that they had gotten an eviction, so they could not get another apartment, so they had to have some place to stay while they were working their way back into an apartment to save money. So they ended up at an extended stay, and what they were saying is extended stays actually cost more than having an apartment to pay rent in. So it is getting crazier and crazier, and it's not just in California, it's happening outside of California. The poverty rates are going up. So this is not going in a good direction at all, folks. It's not. They cut funding for medicines. Just this week I've noticed people talking about, could just get your medicine and you get a refill. Now you got to go to an appointment just to get a refill of medicine. Things are getting tougher. What if you're sick and you can't get the medicine in time? So a lot of stuff is happening. It's getting bad. Boy, I'm telling you, if you hadn't been paying attention, you should pay attention. It is getting worse. It is getting worse under this administration.